G'day, Pastor Blake here. Thanks so much for watching this message today. I pray that this sermon and resource would help grow you in your relationship with Jesus, also in conjunction with a local church. If you have any questions about our church, you can head to our website, devonportcoc.com.au. Again, thanks for watching this message today, and I do hope that it blesses you in your love and devotion towards Jesus Christ.
Did you know that everybody in this room has the exact same amount of time in a day? It's true. We are all given 24 hours a day. That's 1,440 minutes, or 86,400 seconds. And despite Google making it really easy, I'm not going to go to milliseconds and nanoseconds. Now, let's just say that you listen to the doctor who tells you you need 8 hours of sleep in a day, because I know you guys, you'd listen to the doctor, wouldn't you? Yeah, you totally would listen to the doctor. So that means that you have 16 waking hours for your day. But there's an awful lot of things to fit into that 16 hours, isn't there? You've got work, you've got getting to work, you've got picking people up from places, dropping people at places. You've got meals, preparing for meals. You've got so many chores that need to be done around the house. There's maybe getting kids ready or getting other people ready. There's preparing for what's happening later on in the week. There's all the engagements that we have of an evening. There's just a lot that we've got to do, isn't there? And so let me just ask you a question, and it might make you a little bit uncomfortable for a moment. How many hours of the day do you spend on one of these? Would it be 1 hour? 2 hours maybe? Well, do you know what? There is actually an app for that. There is an app that can tell you how much time you spend on your phone. On an Android phone, or a proper phone, it's called Digital Wellbeing. On an iPhone, it's called the Screen Time app. And both of these apps can be found in the settings section of your phone. Now, you might have to take some time to set it up first, but I'd encourage you to do that this week, because I'm going to show you some stats from my phone usage from Wednesday of this week. And I just want to point out, before it goes up, this was a day off. I just want that known. So I didn't actually intentionally change my phone usage this week. But on Wednesday, I had 6.5 hours of screen time. That's 6.5 hours with my screen being active and turned on. That's almost half of my waking hours. But I also unlocked my phone 79 different times. So over a 24-hour period, I unlocked my phone 79 times. That means that I picked up my phone and I unlocked it 3.3 times every hour. But it's actually more than that, because that's based off a 24-hour period, and I did sleep in that time. See, I'm going to be honest, I'm standing here today, I'm sharing these statistics with you, but I am not at all proud of these statistics. In fact, I'm a little bit ashamed of those statistics. And I wouldn't have expected my statistics to be that high. But it kind of sneaks up on you. So I wonder, how would you compare? How would your phone usage line up with mine? Because I looked at some research this week that said the average amount of screen time per day for Australians averaged out between the silent generation and Generation Z It is 5.5 hours a day. It's 5.5 hours a day that we stare at our phones. That's a lot. It also means that I'm above average, so there's that. Well, actually, I'm below average because for millennials like myself, it's 6.7 hours per day. But that number, 5.5 hours for the average Australian, they took that and they extrapolated that data out. And they said based off average life expectancy and the average age that people get a phone these days, we spend almost 17 years of our lives looking at our phones. Almost 17 years of our lives looking at and being controlled by one of these devices. Research said that works out to be about a third of our waking life. How does that sit with you today? Because I can tell you that does not sit right with me. Now, don't get me wrong, I love technology. I think technology is absolutely fantastic. But when I look at my phone usage, when I look at the hours, and it is hours that I spend on my phone every day, I have to ask myself the question, what am I actually investing this time into? Am I investing into growing closer to Jesus? Well, sometimes. I've got the Bible app on my phone, which I use. And I love the ease of access that it gives me to be able to look up verses or Google questions that I might have. I listen to sermons and podcasts that grow and challenge my faith, but to be honest, that's a small percentage of the time. So am I investing into other people? Well, I try to. I would text people. I'd use Messenger to send people encouraging messages to invest into them. I use my phone to do something really novel, and I call people on it. But not always to invest. So am I just wasting my time? Am I endlessly scrolling through social media or playing games that have no real meaning or purpose, but they give me that cheap little endorphin buzz because I managed to complete something? That describes way too well what I do too much on my phone. So much of the time that I spend on my phone is selfish. It's not edifying to the church or to other believers. It's not sharing the gospel or investing in people. It's not even really investing in my relationship with Jesus. It's just a vain and selfish pursuit. But it's not even just about phones. How much of our time do we spend on those vain, selfish pursuits? What about you? Where are you spending your time currently? And if this is your first time at church today, welcome. We're so glad that you're here. I'm sorry to kind of smack you in the face with that this morning. See, we're in the third week of our 4-week series, The Best Investment. We're exploring the resources that God has blessed us with and the ways in which we can use them. We've explored money. We've explored possessions and our future. And today we're going to be exploring our most precious resource, time. But this isn't a productivity message. This isn't about trying to squeeze the most utility out of every minute of your day so that you can get things done. And this message isn't about having a work-life balance, though that is so important. Instead, this is about that precious resource that we have, our time. And it's about asking ourselves, am I using my time to live the life that I believe Jesus wants me to live. This is about how Jesus is the best investment for our time. He's the best investment for our money and our possessions and our future. Because like those things, time is a resource. We can spend it or waste it or invest it. And it's a resource that we spend so frivolously if we're not careful. Bob Gale, the screenwriter for one of the greatest movies that has ever been made, Back to the Future, it is one of the best movies that's ever been made. He once said in a documentary, "Time is the only thing money can't buy, and it can't be replaced in any way. Time only goes one way so far, and we never get it back. You never know what the future will bring." How often as kids and as young people did we wish the days away? Did we watch the clock waiting for 3 o'clock, waiting for school to be out? And there might be some teachers in the room who still do the same today. Because how often as adults do we wish the workday away? We want to get home so we can relax. We count the days until the weekend or until we can take leave and have a break. How often do we try to just hurry time along without realizing there's no way to get it back? There is no way to slow it down and draw out those minutes and seconds. And so if this is the case, that time is the most precious resource that we could ever have, we need to make sure that we are using and investing our time well. That we are spending and investing our time where it really counts. So we need to look at what God tells us to do with our time. So we're going to turn to the words of Jesus in Luke chapter 9, verses 23 to 25. And it says this, "And then he said to them all, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will save it. What good is it for someone to gain the whole world and yet lose or forfeit their very self?'" These are pretty sobering words from Jesus about how we spend ourselves and how we spend our time. And these verses echo a principle that we have been seeing time and time again in this series. We need a perspective of eternity. See, one of the big ideas of this best investment series is this. You might be rich in the eyes of the world. You might have achieved success in the eyes of the world. But when you look at it from that perspective of eternity, it all falls apart. It's what we saw last week in the parable of the rich fool who stored up his possessions for himself and found out he couldn't take it with him. It's what we saw in the first week as Blake shared about money and tithing. Because it doesn't make sense in the eyes of the world that God makes our 90% go further when we give him the first fruits. And it is what we see in Jesus' words here. I love the way that the Message paraphrase renders these couple of verses because it says, "Anyone who intends to come with me has to let me lead. You're not in the driver's seat. I am." You might be able to manage your time so you can do all the things that you want to do. You might achieve all the successes that you want, or experience all those things that you want to experience. But what is the point if in fitting all that living and pleasure in, you forfeit or lose your very soul? See, you can have a great work-life balance. You can spend amazing time with family. You can help those in need. But without Jesus, it means nothing. We know salvation doesn't come through great time management, of which I am so grateful. We know that we're not saved through our effort or through our productivity. We are saved through Jesus, by surrendering our lives to Jesus. And I'm challenged that in this passage, Jesus doesn't just say, hey, it'd be great if you could do this. He says, if you want to be my disciple, you must do this. Anyone who wants to be Jesus' disciple, anyone who wants to truly follow him, our time no longer belongs to us. We need to understand we are giving our life to Jesus. He is our Lord. He is our Savior. That means that we have to give up the ownership of our time. Christian, we need to understand that if we call ourselves a follower of Jesus, that comes with great reward. We are blessed and given a salvation that we don't have to earn and we don't deserve. We are transformed into who God intends us to be. We have eternity with God. But along with those rewards, there's responsibilities that God has for us. We place Jesus as the Lord of our life. And that's not just a nice saying. We actually need to choose to get out of the driver's seat and give him control. But you know what? That's actually a good thing, because Jesus, unlike us, knows what eternity looks like. He knows what truly matters. So when we offer our time to Jesus, he knows this is how it can best be used. This is how it can best be invested. And Jesus is calling us in this passage to do two specific things. In verse 23 it says, "Then he said to them all, 'Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily.'" See, Jesus is calling on us to deny yourself. Say no to selfishness. We already know how much of our time we use in selfishness, on things that don't really matter. We spend our time on things without considering the cost, and we can't get a refund. So Jesus calls on us, deny yourself. Pick up your cross. Now, for the people of Jesus' day, even though Jesus hadn't gone to the cross yet, they knew what that meant. The cross was an instrument of death. To carry your cross meant that you were carrying death on your back, and you were taking it to the place where you would be killed. They're sobering words. It's a sobering invitation that we're given. Jesus is saying to us, die to yourself. Give up that selfishness that's your natural instinct. Give up that desire to just feed me. Instead, follow in Jesus' footsteps. And you know, we regularly encounter opportunities in our days where we have a choice about how we're going to spend our time, about whether we're going to be selfish or whether we're going to follow Jesus, whether we're going to do what we know is written in God's word. And those choices, they're sometimes big, but so often they're just small opportunities where we have a chance to choose. Am I going to be selfish, or will I invest my time into something that's going to last? And you know, a simple way to look at these choices is, how do you deal with interruptions in your day? Because we all get interrupted, whether we're at home. I've got 3 young girls. Or whether we're at work, or whether we're just spending time with friends, interruptions are all around us. So how do we deal with those interruptions? What do we do? Well, Jesus was the master at allowing interruptions. And in fact, I love in Luke chapter 8, there's the story of Jairus and the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. See, Jesus lands in Jairus' town and Jairus runs up to him and says, "Teacher, would you come and heal my daughter? She is so sick." This wasn't what Jesus was intending to do. He was probably intending to teach and to heal people and to preach. But he allows himself to be interrupted and he says, "All right, take me to your home." And then along the way, a woman who had been bleeding for 12 years, she was ostracized from society, cut off. She sees Jesus and she goes, "You know what? I don't even have to interrupt him. All I need to do is touch the edge of his cloak." And so Jesus is moving, he's going, working his way through an interruption. The woman touches his cloak, she's healed. And Jesus stops. She didn't want to interrupt him, but Jesus stops. He interrupts his interruption for her. Because he knew what really matters. He knew what was really important, and he knew that even though this woman was already healed, he wanted to give her an incredible gift, his time. And so he stopped and he found her and he spoke to her. He spoke life into her. He encouraged her. He welcomed her back into society. He let her know that she mattered. See, denying ourselves means investing into those around us. Charles Francis Adams, the son of President John Quincy Adams and grandson of President John Adams, kept a diary. One day he entered, "Went fishing with my son today. A day wasted." His son, Brooke Adams, also kept a diary, which is still in existence. On that same day, Brooke Adams made this entry: "Went fishing today with my father. The most wonderful day of my life." See, the father thought he was wasting his time because he wasn't ticking off his to-do list. He wasn't getting the things done that he wanted to do. He wasn't changing the world. But to his son, he had given him the greatest gift that he could: his time. Giving someone time when they need it is not a waste. It is an investment. It is encouraging them to grow. It is taking something that is so precious to us, something that we can't get back, and it is offering it to them as a gift. And when we offer that gift, it changes lives. And I wonder, are you thinking of somebody who has given you that gift right now? Somebody who has given you time, who has invested into you through help, through encouragement, through support and love. Because I can think of so many leaders and mentors who have made time for me. Several of them in this room right now. People who have spoken into my life, who have encouraged me, who have challenged me, who have helped me to grow in my faith, to discover who God has made me to be, who He has shaped me to be, who have helped to grow and develop my discernment. And I am so incredibly grateful for that gift that they have given me of just time. I think of the incredible leaders of our youth ministry here. These are incredible leaders who give up their time and their effort and their love every Friday night. Why? Because they see the importance of their time. They see the importance of denying themselves so that they might invest into the young people around them, to investing into their lives for God. I've seen the way that the young people of this church have grown and they have reached out to grab their faith with both hands. And they've done it because people have invested time to show them what it means. And I can tell you this, that the young people of this church, they are not going to be letting go of that faith anytime soon. See, the power of allowing ourselves to be interrupted, to invest in the lives of the people around us. This changes lives. And all it takes is for us to deny ourselves, to deny our selfishness, and remember that Jesus is the Lord of our time. And see, there are so many places that He is calling us to invest. At home, at work, with our friends, at church, in this city. Investing into relationships, not for what we're going to get back, but just giving that gift of time when they need it. And so I wonder, where do you need to allow yourself to be interrupted? Where do you need to choose to invest into others? Where can you get involved in serving others, not yourself? Denying yourself so that others might be blessed. And we're involved in some incredible ministries here at Devonport Church of Christ. So start serving somewhere. Start giving some of your time as a gift and as an offering. Give an hour a week to Kids Hope Mentoring. Invest in the life of just one young person. Come and have a conversation with me or with Simona about investing into the lives of our young people on a Friday night or a Sunday morning. Get involved with Grand's Van, or we've got details coming out soon about a breakfast club that we can be involved with as a church. Look beyond yourself and see what there is. The other thing that Jesus tells us about investing our time in Him through this passage is He calls us to choose Jesus daily. Jesus tells us we need to deny ourselves and pick up our cross daily. And following Jesus in this way, it's not a one day a week thing. It is an everyday thing. Giving Jesus control of our lives and our time, we don't just do it on a Sunday. It's for the whole week. It's a choice that needs to be made continually. We are taking up our cross and dying to self every day. And this means that we need to choose Jesus even when we don't feel like it. Because when we don't feel like choosing Jesus, but we choose Him anyway, that is powerful. That is a sacrifice. In those moments, we are truly giving our time to Jesus. We are truly giving Him control. And you know, a great example of this can be church on a Sunday morning. Because we all know there are those Sunday mornings when things aren't going well. You woke up late. The weather outside is horrible. You know, Yowie is preaching today. Basically, everything's saying, don't go. But when we choose to come, even when we don't feel like it, we are choosing Jesus. We are offering Him a sacrifice that costs us. We're giving Him our time, that precious resource, even when it costs us and we are denying ourselves. And it's in those moments that God does a deep work in us. Because He sees those sacrifices. He sees those times that we choose Him, even when we don't feel like it. And the thing about an investment is, investments aren't a get-rich-quick scheme. They're something that take time to mature. And it's the same with our faith. We've got to keep putting in deposits and not making withdrawals so that we build it up. You know, I'm going to go to church today, even though I don't feel like it. That's a deposit. I'm going to get up early today just to sit with God, to read His word, to pray. I'm going to give up my cozy bed and my sleep. That's a deposit. I'm going to offer Jesus this productive time in my day so that I can really focus on him, because I know that I need his help. That's another deposit. And all these deposits add up. They add up to a transformed mind and renewed thinking. They add up to a transformation that changes our thinking so that we don't have to work so hard to deny ourselves, because it becomes natural. And in doing so, as we serve and offer up this time, we discover a greater joy than we ever thought we could find elsewhere. These deposits of our time that we offer God add up to a transformed life. But to make these deposits, we have to keep choosing Jesus daily. Even when we have got so much on our plate that it would be so easy to just go, not today. We choose Jesus daily. And as I finish up this message, I want to just finish with a poem by an unknown author. I got up early one morning and rushed right into the day. I had so much to accomplish that I didn't take time to pray. Problems just tumbled about me, and heavier came each task. Why doesn't God help me, I wondered. He answered, you didn't ask. I tried to come into God's presence. I used all my keys at the lock. God gently and lovingly chided, why, child, you didn't knock. I wanted to see joy and beauty, but the day toiled on, grey and bleak. I wondered why God didn't show me. He answered, but you didn't seek. I woke up early this morning and paused before entering the day. I had so much to accomplish that I had to take time to pray. We've all been given 24 hours in a day. That's 1,440 minutes, 86,400 seconds. The question is, are you using them to live the life that you believe Jesus wants you to live?